Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here and welcome back to another video that is brought to you through the EA Game Changers program. So big thank you to EA for providing me with an early access copy to The Sims 4 Snowy Escape in their virtual Sims camp, and this video is going to be all about the gameplay. So we're going to cover everything that's included with this brand new expansion pack, from lifestyles and sentiments to all the new skills, the new career, the locations that you can travel to, and the new things to do in this expansion. We're gonna go over it all. So this is the information screen you get when you first load up the game. Chase your thrills. Test your Sims skill and endurance with activities on the mountainside. Grab skis for a downhill ride, strap on a snowboard to shred, or bundled up on a sled with another Sim, which is by far one of the cutest interactions I have ever seen. Find your zen. Sims worries will float away in the natural hot springs, then unwind over hot pot around a kotatsu table, or socialize whilst hiking through bamboo forests and snowy terrain. Create your sanctuary, whether you prefer the traditional details or modern touches of Japanese-inspired furniture and decor. You can incorporate shoji doors, windows and screens, tatami mats and more to design a home that complements your life. And then finally, we have define your lifestyle. Unlock new personality and relationship effects with lifestyles and sentiments. I do want to point out, sentiments are actually coming with a base game update, so they will be in the game for everyone. I think there may be a few that are tied to this new pack, but you will get some of them in base game as well. Hopefully they'll then expand them to other packs if they go down well. Fingers crossed, that's what I'm hoping for. Whereas lifestyles are tied to this new pack. So if you buy Snowy Escapes, you'll unlock all the lifestyles that come with it. There are no base game update for lifestyles. Lifestyles manifest in response to your Sims' actions and habits. Similarly, shared experiences inspire sentiments and have a lasting impact on Sims relationships. That's probably one of my most wanted features in The Sims 4. I feel like we've been lacking a real personality difference between Sims for years now, and it just gets more and more apparent as we get more and more packs and they all start to sort of merge together and cancel each other out. So we're gonna go through all of that. I'm gonna give all my thoughts and opinions on that system because it's something that I've been asking for and wanting to see in the game for a while now. Also, as always, just keep in mind that this was early access and therefore it was an early version of the game, so if there are any glitches or anything is broken in this video, which there are a couple of things, we did report them all to the Sims team and fingers crossed it should all be fixed before general release. So let's start this off how we usually do, and that is with the brand new aspirations that come with this pack. So we get two new aspirations. We get the Extreme Sports Enthusiast, which is actually what I gave to my Sim Kai. This is basically all about the new extreme sports that come in this pack. So there's obviously skiing, snowboarding, and climbing. So this is a little bit harder than normal aspirations, I feel like, in The Sims 4. This definitely challenges you to take on the new skills and get to their higher levels. I think the pinnacle that you have to reach is a level 8 and above. But basically all this aspiration is telling you to do is go hiking, go climbing, get out there, explore the mountain, see all the skills that this pack has to offer, and obviously all the new sports and skills. And then once you actually complete this aspiration, you avoid injuries more often. So that's from like climbing or skiing or snowboarding. Your Sim can actually become battered and bruised and they get an uncomfortable moodlet, which you can actually decrease in the hot springs, but it's just helpful to have that especially if you're doing it quite frequently. And they also have a natural resistance to inclemental, is that the right word? The weather on the mountain, because it can get pretty bad. You can have snowstorms, you can have blizzards, you can have thunderstorms up on the mountain whilst you are doing your trek, so it can get pretty dangerous for your sim, but they'll resist it more and they'll have a higher chance of actually reaching the peak. But technically you've already reached the peak by the time you've done this aspiration. And the second aspiration, which I gave to the mum of this family, is Mount Komorebi Sightseer. This is very much like the previous walkthrough aspirations that we get in packs. It's very similar to island living and city living. It's basically just telling you to get out of the house and explore your local areas, try different dishes at the festivals, buy different clothing, also go sledging, visit the onsen. It's basically a walkthrough to show you what's new outside of the skills and the sports and what actually you can do in this new environment. So definitely a lot easier, this one. It's not quite as easy as island living. I remember like their final one was get a suntan or something like that. And then the reward for this one, I actually feel like the reward basically meets up with the steps that you've gone through for this aspiration. You actually just get a discount at the food stalls for festivals, so nothing too major. And of course, to go alongside those new aspirations, we actually get 3 new skills in this expansion, and those are to do with the new activities that your sims can get up to. So those are snowboarding, skiing, and climbing. So as you start leveling up in snowboarding, your sim will unlock the harder slopes. They'll be able to do more tricks. They'll have specific interactions, such as naming one of your pals your snow bro. There's also unlockable boards in build and buy mode. And when they reach, I think it's a level 10, they can actually record their own videos and start to make money off those snowboarding videos by uploading them onto the computer. And it basically just works the same way as Get Famous and recording videos. Your sim will just get a weekly payment from it. You can't unfortunately watch it back. It's not like The Sims 3 Generations where you can stick it on a TV. I think that would have been sick, like to get like the first person camera view of them doing tricks. As you upgrade your skiing, you unlock new slopes, tricks, outfits, which is quite nice. I like that you actually unlock more Create a Sim items as you play through this game by going to festivals and also obviously with the skills and also like climbing the mountain and stuff. There's a lot of new ways to earn clothing that you probably haven't seen in this expansion once you just load in to Create a Sim, which is quite nice. You can also unlock more skis and interactions between sims. And then as you level up in climbing, you can actually unlock like different ways to climb. So you can climb like cautiously, or you can do courageously, or just normally. And you also, obviously, as you level up, you'll be able to climb higher walls, which is definitely helpful if your sim decides to go on an excursion. I'll throw it out there. You'll need to be at least a level 6 in climbing to actually reach the peak. Then we also have sledging, but that's not a skill. I'll throw it out there that kids and toddlers can sledge. That's why I think it's the literal cutest little thing. So to go sledging, you have to travel to the mountain. Usually you spawn in at the onsen bathhouse because that's like the public lot up there. So you spawn in at the bathhouse, and then if you scroll over to the left hand side, you will see a bunny slope, which is basically just the beginner's slope. So here you can start to learn to ski and snowboard, become a little bit more comfortable on both of those things. And you can also sledge here. You can sledge by yourself. Toddlers will always have to go with an adult because there are little like bunny jumps in it, so it's kind of terrifying if you just send a fetus down this slope by themselves because they're probably going to get whiplash, and nobody wants that. Trust me, I've had it before. Kids can go sledging by themselves though, and sledging is actually only available in this world, so your sims cannot go sledging anywhere else. It's only applicable to Mount Komorebi, even if you have seasons. And also the rock climbing wall, I genuinely had no idea where the practice rock climbing wall was, because obviously I didn't have any other packs installed, so I didn't have fitness stuff, so I couldn't learn on the electronic rock climbing wall, which I did ask the gurus. That's actually being updated. That will help you with your climbing skill. So if you keep on scrolling past the bunny slope, you'll actually come to a rock climbing wall at sort of the end of the path past the two rentals, and that's where you can actually start to learn to climb. I had no idea where to start. I sent my sim up on the cable cars and I was like, yeah, surely I start at the top of the mountain. Like, this looks quite small. No. And then once you've got a little bit more confident on your board or your skis, you can actually click either the top of the mountain and just have your sim go here to actually teleport. So the cable cars are technically usable, but it is just a teleportation device. Like, you can't see your sims get into them or anything. And then there are 4 different runs. They actually go from right to left. So you have beginner, intermediate, expert, and then ludicrous. I wish I knew more ludicrous songs, because I would have put one in there. But you unlock these slopes as you progress further and further into your skill. Adults, well, teens and above can do any of the slopes. Children, even if you get your child to a motor 10 skill, they'll actually only be able to do the beginner one. I've never been able to afford to go skiing or snowboarding in my life. But I'm fairly sure some kids probably do intermediate, the cocky little shits, but you can only do beginner in this expansion. Speaking of not being able to afford skiing or snowboarding, your sims don't actually have to buy their own snowboard or skis from the get-go. They can if they want to. You can find them in build and buy mode. However, if you just send your sim straight to the slopes, they actually just automatically rent skis or a snowboard. This actually leaves them with an uncomfortable moodlet, because I'm fairly sure some of us have hired equipment before, or ice skates. I know that hired ice skates are so uncomfortable. I get blisters every single time. And I guess I'll talk about excursions here, because these kind of come hand in hand with the climbing skill. So you can actually throw a social event. You need an excursion leader, and then you also need another party member. This can either be a playable sim that you have in your household, or you can just invite a random townie. Their townie skills doesn't actually matter. They'll be able to climb no matter what. Then you travel up the mountain on the cable cars or the gondola, whatever you want to call it. I call it cable cars. Everyone said a ski lift was an open vehicle that goes up the side of a mountain. It does actually work like a social event, so you actually have to do certain tasks to get medals. As you get the medals and progress with those tasks, you can obviously go on to the next stages. The main one is obviously to climb, and then there's other ones that's like stretch or make sure you check the conditions before you climb. You can do most of that stuff by either clicking on your sim or actually click on the wall. You also can buy climbing gear. I had no idea where to buy it, and then it told me when I was already halfway up the mountain on my first excursion. I wish it had told me before it, but you can actually buy climbing gear on the computer, and then it goes into your inventory and you can choose to equip it. That means your sim will put gloves on and also these special climbing shoes, which also reduces the risk of your sim falling and becoming injured. If your sim gets too injured, they unfortunately can't climb and you'll have to call off the excursion. I basically had my sim just go cautiously for the first time we did one because I didn't want to risk anything. Then there's like 3 or 4 different stages to the actual mountain. I will throw out there, I thought that the hot pot, because the hot pot is actually a live draggable object, I thought you'd be able to use the hot pot with your sim up the mountain. You unfortunately can't. You can't drag it out into the world, which is kind of a missed opportunity to me. I would have loved to see that, but you can stock up on food from the vending machines on the mountain before you head on up. Some adventurers might leave stuff behind. You might be able to nap in a bush, you might be able to nap in the cave, or you might be able to find a tent that someone else has left behind. And then once you actually reach the peak, there is, as I said in my world and townie overview, there's a hidden lot there. I don't think it's livable because there's no way to access it through the map. You'd have to do the excursion every time, and honestly, that's far too much effort just to reach your home, even if it does look really, really pretty from the items that are included in this pack. 3 new skills is nice and all, but they don't make your Sims that different from one another. However, lifestyles and sentiments are being introduced in this pack. So like I said in the intro, lifestyles are exclusive to this pack, to Snowy Escapes. You have to purchase Snowy Escapes to get access to these lifestyles. Sentiments work a little bit differently. They are coming with the base game update. However, there are a couple of sentiments that are exclusive to this pack. These are basically based off what your Sims get up to. They're based off the hobbies that your Sims have, the interactions that they do with other Sims. They basically explain how your Sim lives their life and in their style. So there's 16 of them in total, but for example, there's single and loving it, and then on the opposite to that, there's hungry for love, there's indoorsy, outdoorsy, health food nut, junk food junkie. So some of them are complete opposites from one another, and then some of them are just standalone. So basically you unlock and gain these just by playing the game. For example, in this playthrough, I had Kai be the extreme sporty one in this fam. So he was out there every day, snowboarding, skiing, climbing. He actually ended up getting the outdoorsy lifestyle, the energetic lifestyle, and then another one which I can't remember what he got. But your Sims can have up to 3 lifestyles active. If you actually run out of room and you want to change your lifestyle, you can actually buy a potion in the rewards store, which removes one of them, or you can choose to go to your computer and actually visit a lifestyle coach. These aren't an NPC or anything, they don't come round to your house. You just pay the 200 simoleons, I think it is, and then your Sims head off lot for a little bit. This was actually broken in this version that we played. Keep in mind that this is early access and the bugs are currently being ironed out, and we got to report everything, like all the issues that we came across we reported to the team, so fingers crossed should all be working and fixed before general release. But they'll go off lot and then they'll come back and you can actually remove a lifestyle, and I have to say I think I was expecting more from this feature. However, I think I'm gonna have to play more to actually get my full opinion on it, because it's obviously a long game. Like, you're not going to gain these things straight away. I think I got my first one maybe 3 or 4 days into playing it, Sims time, and so they do take a little while for your game to define them. But honestly, the main difference that I saw that these made was to my emotions. And honestly, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the emotion system or moodlets in The Sims 4. I feel like they're already crowded, and this just kind of added to that. However, I did notice that Kai was always super energetic. Like, whenever he was climbing or snowboarding, he was so thrilled just to be out there. And sentiments kind of work in the same way. So these will appear as you play the game, as you experience different life events with other Sims. So I was getting ones that included celebrating festivals together. There are also betrayal ones, and you can feel bitter or hurt by Sims if they cheat on you. Obviously, I jumped right into the game and had a Sim cheat. And honestly, it changed the gameplay. So usually when Sims cheat, your significant other, if they see you, they'll just come over to you and slap you, and they'll be angry, but they don't really take it out on you. Like, they genuinely can turn around and give you a high five straight after they've slapped you. It's very, very strange, and it kind of takes the realism out of the gameplay, whereas now it feels like the game is trying to tell the same story as you. There was still some definite downfalls for me personally. Like, for example, I had one of the pre-made Sims cheat on her husband. He saw, and yet she was able to sleep in the same bed as him, which was kind of disappointing because I was like, no, I want you to just like not want to sleep in the same bed together. However, they did both get angry, and I had her like try to apologize, and he just wasn't having any of it. These actually do have a cooldown, so if you head to the relationships, you will get a notification that tells you that a sentiment has been gained. Then if you head down to the relationship panel, you can see a golden outline on a sim where that new sentiment has been added. So you click on that, and then you show sim profile, which is a new UI for this update, which is really nice. You can see all of your sim's traits here, you can see what relationships they have together, and you can of course now see their sentiments. And usually if it's a good one, it will have a green icon. If it's a bad one, it will have a red icon, and they actually decrease over time. So they do have a little bit of a cooldown period. Obviously, if you don't have those sims interact very frequently, the sentiment will start to decrease. I'm assuming you can have a combination, so I don't know how it would play out if you did have a combination of a happy one and also an angry one. I don't know if they would counteract each other or anything like that. I'm definitely going to have to play with this in more detail. Also, another downfall of sentiments that was brought up to me by Julian, aka Iron Seagull. He actually, I think he had two sims get divorced, but their child wasn't actually affected by it. So they got divorced, and they obviously had sentiments towards each other, the two sims that had been in that relationship, but then the kid didn't have any sentiments towards the mum or the dad. I like this system, but I definitely feel like there is work to be done on it, which again, I'm happy it's a base game update, because fingers crossed in the future, that might mean that they'll continue to work on it, and if we give this feedback, the team might polish it and scrub it up. I will also throw out there that the townies, the pre-mades, they already have sentiments towards one another, which is so nice. They actually have relationships. So there's two teenagers whose families don't really like each other. The two women get on really well. They have a long-term respect for one another, which is shown in their sentiments panel. And then the two men really dislike each other. So they have festering grudges with one another. But then the grandkids actually have a romantic relationship with each other. All of that is explained in the family bios, which I went over in my townie overview. So it's really nice to see the game catching up with its own lore. There are, in fact, 3 different festivals. They happen like alternative Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, and you will get a notification for each of them. I love the Festival of Snow. That's actually up in the Yuki Matsu area, so that's up on the mountain, and here it's like covered in these big ice sculptures. They don't change, it's always the same ice sculptures, so I mean, once you've seen it once, you've seen how pretty it can be. I would definitely suggest waiting until it goes dark and the lights turn on. It's gorgeous. There's some fireworks that go off. You can try specific squid dishes, which is ikayaki, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's just a gorgeous festival overall. I had my kid play with some of her friends. We went sledging. It's just basically all about celebrating the mountain and the snow that's up there. I wish that igloos were a thing. I think igloos could have been really nice in this pack. It would have kind of sucked to have them in this pack and tied to this pack and not seasons. However, I do think building an igloo definitely would have added more for the kids. Then there is the Festival of Youth. What I really like about this pack is that it's not so teen plus based. Like, I do feel as if there is a fair amount of content for children. One downfall of this pack, I will say, is there's just not enough to do at home, and a lot of the stuff is tied to this new world. But the Festival of Youth is basically aimed at kids. They have a virtual void critter hunt, so you actually go up to Yamachan, you ask him about the hunt, and then I basically just went around. It definitely worked more around his what's it called? His statue. I just click the different points of his statue to find void critters. So basically you search for them and they'll kind of pop up out of the ground like little holograms, and you'll either get a notification saying like, yes, I found one, or unfortunately there was no void critter here, please keep looking. So you pretty much just click on the ground wherever you can, and you have to find 10 void critters. Once you have found those void critters, you can ask Yamachan for a prize. So go back to him after you've found all 10, ask him and claim your prize. Here you can also buy ice cream crepes, which are adorable. They're all void critter themed. This is basically the Pokemon Go of Sims 4. And then there's also a vending machine that sells paper kabutos. So you can buy and wear those. I wish that the kids got something new. We obviously do get a new potion table, an experiment science table, which we haven't had one of those since base game. So that was quite nice. However, we just got another arts and crafts table. I'm fairly sure we get one every pack now, and I'm just getting bored. I want kids to be able to do something else. And lastly, there is the Festival of Light, which is basically a celebration of life and also respecting the dead. The previous festival, Festival of Youth, actually took place in Wakaba, and the Festival of Light takes place in Sembamachi. Basically, here you can wish on the Tanabata, is that how I pronounce that? Tanabata wish trees, which is really, really sweet. I remember getting one of those in Animal Crossing as well. So look at me learning more about the Japanese culture. This just gives you a moodlet to say that you have made a wish. You can actually give gifts at the graves. There are 2 graves that you can interact with. I will say there is an interaction on the graves that's taking a selfie, which is obviously super disrespectful. I would never encourage anyone to take a selfie at a grave. However, I did have my sim do this just to test it, and they did get an embarrassed moodlet. They knew that it wasn't right of them to take it. I mean, I kind of wish that wasn't an option, but it does resemble how a lot of tourists treat different cultures, I feel like. And then you can also buy new food, and you can also purchase a special kimono, which I do think they have changed the design on this festival kimono. I know I've talked a little bit about Simmy capsules here, so I will say that vending machines are a new feature of this pack. You can actually die by vending machine. I unfortunately didn't get to see it as I was recording. I think it happens when your Sims repeatedly have to shake a vending machine, but there's one that gives you like all the camping gear that you're gonna need for climbing and excursions. There's one that sells hot food and drinks, there's one that sells cold food and drinks, and then of course there is the Simmy capsule one, which capsules are such a big thing. Like whenever I watch Japanese vlogs, like I said, I've never been to Japan. I would love to go, but everyone loves the capsule vending machines. They're such a big part of Japanese culture with like surprise boxes and things like that. So Simmies are a new collection. They're basically these cartoon dolls that you can collect that represent different Sims that we've seen throughout the whole franchise. So there's a Madame Zoe one, Father Winter, there's Medieval Grimm. Some of them are rare, some of them are common, and I think there are 16 to collect. Don't quote me on that, but I'm fairly sure it's around that number. You can either get them from Yamachan or just from the vending machines. It also has a really cute UI design of the capsule like shaking and opening itself, and then it pops up with what you got and also the star rating. And there's also gold variants of each of the Simmies as well. So if you want the full collection, you'll have to get the normal ones and also the golden tickets. And speaking of death, I think there are 3 deaths. So you can actually freeze to death if you are on the mountainside in the snow and you aren't dressed for the weather. Yes, that was a death that was introduced in Seasons. However, it's also in this pack as well. You can also fall off the highest climbing point on the mountain. If you are injured, you have more of a chance of dying by falling, which is terrifying. I, once again, unfortunately didn't get to record that. And then, of course, the vending machine death. There is a new career. This is the salary person career, and basically this is just a corporate office job. You will work super long hours in this career. There's also a fair amount of pop-ups that I was getting when it came to this career, like staying late, sleeping in a capsule hotel if you were running late, going to karaoke bars with your co-workers. There were a ton of pop-ups whilst I was actually playing this career. So dedicating your life to the Farseer Data Corporation and putting its needs above all else is just the first step for a salary person. Stability, respect, and endless hours of work are in your future. Advance to be a supervisor or an expert in your field, all whilst enjoying morning commutes and evening karaoke. And the career branches are expert and supervisor. You're basically always going to be working 5 days a week. And like I said, they are really long hours. And then also with some of the choices, you even stay later. If your sim has a family, I know that she was feeling embarrassed about her long hours quite a lot. First off, we have expert. Experts are needed in all fields. You don't limit yourself. You're an expert in everything that your boss needs you to be. You are the first and last call teams make when working on difficult problems. And then secondly, there is supervisor. The corporate hive mind does not function without an endless number of team leads. Join their legion and become a supervisor. Increase productivity by hundreds of % through inspirational team exercises. So once you actually reach a certain level in this career, you unlock a special trait, which is like corporation, I can't remember the term, but basically it increases your singing skill. And then you just get the regular career unlocks. You get a room, you get new clothes, trophies, different items, just like any standard career. I will also say, I can't remember the last time we only got one career in an expansion pack. Like, I like this career, but I also would have loved to see like a ski or a snowboarding instructor, especially because tourism is so big in this world and we've been told about that. That's my opinion! Speaking of things to do at home though, there is actually the hot pot, which is a live draggable item. So this can sit on your kitchen counters, it can sit in the center of your tables, and you can serve up 3 different dishes in this hot pot, and you can all grab a serving together. However, unfortunately, and this is an oversight in my opinion, you can put this into your inventory and take it around to other Sims houses. However, there's no option for groups to grab a plate together, which I find really weird. And also really weirdly, there's a lot of build and buy mode objects that relate to tea, and we do have canned tea, which is in the vending machines. However, there's no like tea ceremony or like table that you can serve tea on. But with all my complaining of there not being enough to do as a family at home, you can actually now take your family out for hikes. Yes, Sims can finally walk together. That sounds so ridiculous that that's even something that we have to celebrate, but they've actually updated the tech for this new hiking. So you click on the hiking board. These exist in both the mountainous area and also in Sembamachi through the bamboo forest and the graveyard and things like that. And you can click on these boards and you can choose to hike together with, and this will basically create a group. They've updated kids, so their legs move really, really fast, but they actually keep up with the rest of the family, and all your Sims like chat and interact with each other. They take selfies on their way. You can also just go hiking by yourself. You can hike to certain destinations, or you could just do the circuit. You can hike to the temples, to caves, to the shrines, to the graveyard. There's a bunch of different destinations that you can go to, and also along your way you might even spot some forest spirits. There are two types of spirits, so there's the regular ones, and then there is a special type, and you can wish on these spirits, or you can also capture them. So if you capture a forest spirit, it will, one, give you a moodlet, and if you successfully manage to capture them, they appear in your inventory, and then you can also put these up on your walls as little dolls. I think there's 4 available for the forest spirits. I didn't see the super rare spirits whilst I was playing. Oh, they're called Kodamas. My apologies. So the special spirits are called Kodamas. If catching spirits isn't your thing, but catching bits and bobs is, what? Why am I like this? I've been recording too long, I swear. I've been trying to crank out early access videos. Speaking of cranking out, there are 3 new woohoo spots. Technically, 2 of them are new. One of them is just a bush woohoo. I think we're getting a new... Yeah, we are getting a new bush because there's not a base game one and I was only playing with this in base game. So there is a new bush. You can sleep in it, you can pee in it, and you can also woohoo in it. Basically, it works the same as the get together bush, and you will probably come across it on your mountainous excursions. There's another woohoo that happens up the mountain, and that is the cave woohoo. So once you reach, I think it's the 3rd step of your excursion, there will be a cave on your way up to the peak, and basically here you can woohoo, you can find natural drinking water, you could come across past travelers. There's a whole bunch of interactions that you can do in this cave, and they'll give you different outcomes, they'll give you different moodlets and things like that. So I would definitely suggest exploring the cave. It is just a rabbit hole. And finally, not so hygienic, but you can woohoo at the onsen. It did turn really green and disgusting after I did it. It does just use the hot tub animation, but I mean, I'm not mad about that. It's nice that we have the option for 3 new woohoos. Kids now wear school uniforms, so if you live in Mount Komorebi, when your sim goes to school, they'll automatically get changed into their school uniform. This doesn't happen for any other world. It is exclusive to Mount Komorebi. And although Zen Gardens aren't a thing in this pack and aren't playable, you can actually have your sims become emotionally mindful. This is a mood that you basically have to chase after. It's an emotion, but it takes a lot to get into the emotionally mindful state. So at first, you'll actually get a fine moodlet, and that'll last for like 4 hours, but then you have to push it even further to become emotionally mindful. So what I did to reach this point is I had her bathe in the hot springs pretty much until she got the furthest emotion along that you can get. Then I had her travel home, she made a painting, then she also contemplated the painting, and then I sent her on a mindful walk, which is basically just the regular walk around the neighborhood, but in this location it's called a mindful walk, and she finally managed to hit it. And then basically once you are emotionally mindful, you can do a surge of emotions. So it takes a lot, and like the reward is quite small. Basically what you can do when you hit that state is change your mood to whatever you want to. So really helpful if you are looking for a specific mood, and it lasts for like 12 hours. And that pretty much wraps up this gameplay video. That was everything I got to see whilst experiencing the pack. I don't know how I feel about this expansion. I'm gonna throw it out there. I think that everything that's in it is really polished, and I know that I'm definitely gonna have my Sims vacation here an awful lot, especially because there's rentals now in the world. However, I think I would have loved to see resorts. I genuinely would have. I think that would have pushed this to an expansion level for me. I feel like everything is so tied to this world. Like the fact that you can't climb or ski or snowboard outside of this world, I'm like, okay, so Does it really expand the game outside of it? Yes, because you can vacation here if you want to, but you can't really do any of the new skills or anything that come with this pack in other packs. I do enjoy it, however, I did get through it quite quickly, I will say that. It felt like I played this for like 2 or 3 days, and then I was like, oh, I feel like I've explored this whole expansion. And obviously that's me going out of my way to record for you guys and get as much information as possible. However, it definitely felt like I covered a majority of it just after a few days of IRL playing. But I think I'm going to take a few days, let all of my thoughts settle, really think about this pack and the gameplay side of things, and then I'll probably do a follow-up on how I feel about it, whether I think it should be an expansion or not, what I usually do for new packs. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Big thank you to EA for providing me with early access so that I could record these videos for you. Tomorrow I will have my Creator Sim overview up of all the new Creator Sim items that we get in this pack. And also, if you have any questions about this pack that I may not have covered, or if I didn't go into enough detail about something, definitely leave them in the comments down below. I absolutely love getting involved with the chat about packs with you guys. So if you have any questions, anything you need me to clear up, please do not hesitate to let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will speak to you all in my next video. Bye!